We want to graph the system of linear inequalities. So we have two of them here, and our first step is to put them into slope-intercept form. So let's do that for inequality A. And we can start by subtracting 5x from both sides of the inequality, leaving us with negative y is less than negative 5x minus 2. Now we need to get rid of the negative 1 in front of the y, so we're going to divide both sides of the inequality by negative 1. Right. So on the left side of the inequality, we'll be left with y, positive y. Now, since we divided by a negative number, the inequality is going to flip sides to become greater than. Right? We have negative 5x divided by 1, that's going to become positive 5x. Negative 2 divided by 1 is going to become positive 2. And we have our first inequality put into slope-intercept form. Now we identify the m and the b. The m is 5, the coefficient in front of the x, and the b is the constant sitting next to the coefficient. Right? We're going to do the same here with our second inequality and subtract 5x from both sides of the inequality, leaving us with negative y is greater than negative 5x plus 5. Now we need to also divide by negative 1 on both sides of the inequality, leaving us with positive y is less than. Right? The inequality flips since we divided by a negative number. And negative 5x divided by negative 1 is positive 5x. Positive 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. Now for inequality B, we want to identify our m and our b. Our m is our 5, the coefficient in front of the x, and our b is negative 5. It is the constant sitting next to the term with the x. Now that we have our m and our b identified, we'll go ahead and graph. Right? So our first graph here starts with a y-intercept of 2, so we'll go up to 2, and that's our first point. And our m is 5 over 1. Wow, it's going to be hard to graph this on this piece of graph paper. So it's 1, 2, 3. So instead of 5 over 1, why don't we do negative 5 over negative 1? All right. So what does that mean? We flip the sign of both the rise and the run, which means it's still positive, right? So I want to say equals negative 5 over negative 1, which is still equal to 5, right? So we're going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to be, I'm sorry. And then we're going to run negative 1. So we're going to move to the left, and this is going to be our next point. And so now that we have our line here, we want to look at the inequality, and it's less than, so we want to create a dotted line, like so. And draw an arrow. Right. So I guess it's better to shade in the side that is the solution first. So let's go ahead and use 0, 0 as our solution, and let's substitute it into our inequality here. 0 times 5 is 0, minus 0 is 0. So what we're going to get when we add our test case, right? So 0 comma 0 is our test case, is going to be 0 is less than negative 2. Is that a true statement or is that a false statement? Right? If we drew on a number line negative 2 and 0, which one is greater than which? Right? 0 is not less than negative 2. Negative 2 is less than 0. So this is a false statement. False statement. Since it's false, we are not going to shade in the side that includes the test point. We're going to shade this side here. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing for the second line. We start at negative 5. Which is down here. We draw our first point, right, our y-intercept. Then our slope is 5 over 1, so we'll go up 5 over 1. That's our second point. Up 5 over 1. That's our third point. So I am going to lay down my straight edge, and I will draw my line. Oh no, again, this is greater than, right? Or this is, I'm sorry, less than. So this line should actually be a dotted line. I'm sorry. So I'm going to signify that with these extra marks here. Dotted line, a dotted line, not a solid line. Now let's go ahead and use the same test point of 0, 0. And so let's plug that into this equation here, or this inequality here. Right, let's do 0, 0 for our second inequality. We're going to get 5 times 0 is 0, minus 0, because we're substituting our 0 for x and 0 for y. We get 0 is greater than 5. Is this a true statement or a false statement? This is false, right? 0 is not greater than 5. So we are going to shade in the area that does not include the test point, namely this side over here. And so what is the solution? The solution is where they overlap. Where do these graphs overlap? They do not overlap, right? So in this case, there is no solution. There is no solution. Okay, and we've shown that by graphing.